Baba,
Yes, my son.
tell me a story.
Which one?
Film, including television, next to music, is a most powerful medium. Film, being a form of communication, can induce feeling as well as action. From the message of the creators as myself, to, well, you, the audience. I too am a fellow audience member, and I've seen the power of film change or inspire people to react, whether for the good or the bad. Especially here in America, the land of entertainment. We have a place called Hollywood, which is only 30.7 miles squared, but its influence has just about reached 51.57 million miles squared, all around the world, land mass speaking. In other words, anywhere there is a television, movie theater, phone, or tablet, Hollywood has touched the viewer. When I speak of Hollywood, I don't just mean the land or the place, but the mentality and beliefs of the people from New York all the way to Hollywoodland. But what has Hollywood influenced upon us through entertainment? How does it affect our thinking and way of life, not just here in the United States, but around the world? This question is especially to the filmmakers. Can you even remember a time you had an original idea that wasn't inspired by Hollywood? Concerned yet? Well, I promise you, I'm about to make your concerns worse. Just as the love of money is a root to all evil, film can be too. As money, film is not evil in and of itself, but not everyone uses the medium you and I love for good, but evil. But praise be to Yah, He does not keep us in the dark, for as it is written, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And that is exactly what I will be doing in this feature, educating you so that you will no longer be ignorant. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of Satan and Hollywood's influence on us through film, I want to introduce you to the influencers on Hollywood, the mother and father of wickedness, the grandmother and grandfather of evil, Satan's chosen ones, and the grand sorceress and sorcerer, Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley. Before I introduce you to the parents of the new age, I would like you to try and keep in mind some terms that will be repeated often. 1. Theosophy, which is made up of theos, the Greek word for God, and Sophia, wisdom. The term means divine wisdom, which I will explain farther in a bit. The next word would be esoteric, which basically is a fancy way of saying cult or information that is only understood by or intended for a select few. The next word would be occult, the belief and practices of magic and supernatural phenomena. Their teachings and beliefs are surrounded around alchemy, astrology, and theosophy. The fourth word and last word would be hermetic. It's the study of and practicing ancient alchemy, astrology, and theosophy, what the Freemasons are into. That primarily wraps up the repetitive terms you'll hear throughout part 1. I promise you, there will be plenty more terms you don't know. But without further ado, let's begin. I love a great heroine story. Deborah was a warrior, prophetess, poet, strategist, judge, ruler, and much more. Yah gave Esther favor with the Persian king, and she had the wisdom and courage to save her people. Do not think this a light thing, but because of Mary's strength and obedience to the word of Yah, from the messenger of Yah, or angel, through her into the world came salvation, mercy, and grace for men and women. Martha P. Davis entrusted in obedience to Yah, established a church, ministered around the globe, all the yet while raising and has risen 10 children, the product of trusting in Yahuwah. These are my favorite heroine stories because these women served and turned to Yahweh for their strength. But Madame Blavatsky did not. They turned to Yah for courage, but Madame Blavatsky did not. They turned to Yah for knowledge and wisdom, but Madame Blavatsky served herself, another master, and partly because of her, the world has been morphed and indoctrinated with the doctrine of devils. Madame Blavatsky always enjoyed reading and learning. This started early in her childhood. Her favorite topics were science, philosophy, astronomy, and the occult. Her love of reading was how she was first introduced to the teaching of occult magic and the philosophies of Freemasonry. She discovered these teachings in her grandfather's vast library, and she was fascinated.
Stupid. I checked this out weeks ago. Forbidden light reading.
This is light.
Of course, here it is. Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone.
The what?
Honestly, don't you two read?
The madam always had one question when she was a child into her teens: what the eternal spirit of man was. At the age of 17 in 1848, she embarked on a so-called spiritual journey around the world, from India to America, to gain more knowledge of the esoteric beliefs, occult magic, and of course, find the answer to her question. In her travels of the Far East, mostly Tibet and India, the madam studied Hinduism and Buddhism and counted them to be far more superior to the other religions. At age 40, she spent time in Cairo where she performed seances. People said that she could slow down time as well as make things disappear and reappear.
I'd like you to sit quietly and close your eyes. Envision yourself in a halo of glowing white light. It will protect you. The year before the Lutzes moved in, a young man named Ronnie DeFeo had brutally murdered his entire family in this house. We'd hoped to discover if the killings had been motivated purely by anger, or if, as Ronnie DeFeo testified in court, he had been under the influence of something demonic.
She was thrilled to come to America in 1873, where spiritualism was making a boom. This is where she met her theosophical companion, Henry Olcott.
According to Olcott, HPB certainly stood out in a crowd. My eye was first attracted by a scarlet Garibaldian shirt she wore, as in vivid contrast with the dull colors around. Her hair was a thick blonde mop, worn shorter than the shoulders, and it stood out from her head, silken soft and crinkled to the roots. I whispered to my companion, "Good gracious, look at that specimen, will you?" Alcott recalled that Madame Blavatsky went outside and rolled herself a cigarette. He walked over to her and said, "Permettez-moi, madame," and offered her a light. Later he said that their acquaintance began in smoke, but it stirred up a great and permanent fire.
In the late 1800s, Eastern wisdom and the esoteric beliefs were popular among the elites, as they still are, and you'll see. This opened opportunity for her to share the stories of her journeys, spread her beliefs, endeavors for a unified world religion. And the elites embraced the Madam and Henry Alcott along with their beliefs. With the elites embracing Blavatsky's teachings, they began to put her teachings to practice, having seances and practicing occult magic. The Madam thought it effective to establish a new esoteric group or club. Her followers agreed, and with this support created the Theosophical Society in 1875. The society focused on marrying Eastern wisdom, occult magic, the sciences with other religions, practices, and teaching to create a unified religion.
The truth is, for me, I know this, that if you in any way are keeping a secret, or if you in any way are pretending to be something that you are not, you will never, ever become all that you were meant to be. It just cannot happen.
Put it over there. Where did you find all these people?
SHIELD has no shortage of enemies, Doctor. Is this the stuff you need?
Yeah, iridium. It's found in meteorites. It forms antiprotons. It's very hard to get hold of.
Especially if SHIELD knows you need it.
Well, I didn't know. Hey, the Tesseract has shown me so much. It's more than knowledge. It's truth.
I know.
Madame Blavatsky called her Theosophical Society's religion by the same name, Theosophy. Theosophy, as previously explained, means divine wisdom, but not the holy wisdom of the Most High Yah, but just as one nation under God is vague and vast, she believed that there was many ways to reach divine wisdom. Madame Blavatsky said, "Once a student abandons the old trodden highway of routine and enters upon the solitary path of independent thought, Godward, he is a theosophist, an original thinker, a seeker after the eternal truth, with an inspiration of his own to solve the universal problems. This is the beginning of the New Age religion we the people embrace without knowing."
The fifth in the chain is the sound chakra, located in the throat. It deals with truth and is blocked by lies, the ones we tell ourselves.
Why didn't you tell us you were the Avatar?
Because I never wanted to be.
You cannot lie about your own nature. You must accept that you are the Avatar. Very good, Ang. You have opened the chakra of truth.
2 years after the Theosophical Society was established, the Madam wrote her first published theosophical doctrine, called Unveiling Isis. No, not the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, but based on a goddess of Egypt. I'll explain in part 2. In her book, she wrote about psychic phenomena and elementals in the first volume of her book, and then the infallibility of modern science in the second volume of her book titled Theology. Volume 2 of her book, Theology, made a connection between Christianity and the Eastern religions, Hinduism and Buddhism, which were more superior to her. She said her book was a plea for the recognition of the Hermetic philosophy, the anciently universal wisdom religion, as the only possible key to the absolute in science and theology.
I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe.
There's a park across the street, and the schools here are fantastic if you have a baby. When? I'm sorry, Kimmy. When you have a baby. We're having a baby. We are having a baby.
You see that? That's called manifesting to the universe. Sometimes the universe thinks it's funny if I drop $26,000 on in vitro first.
You're talking to me about healing through belief.
You're a man looking at the world through a keyhole, and you've spent your whole life trying to widen that keyhole, to see more, to know more. And now, on hearing that it can be widened in ways you can't imagine, you reject the possibility.
No, I reject it because I do not believe in fairy tales about chakras or energy or the power of belief. There is no such thing as spirit. We are made of matter and nothing more. You're just another tiny, momentary speck within an indifferent universe.
You think too little of yourself.
Oh, you think you see through me, do you? Well, you don't. But I see through you!
Helena Blavatsky died of influenza on May 8, 1891. But before she passed, she wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine, which was her masterwork, where she married all the religions and became the mother of the New Age religion, and began the teachings of, as we know it, coexist. The madam didn't sound that bad, right? I'll break it down more for you later. Anyway, Blavatsky's teachings and theosophy paved the way for something worse than her, frate per drabo, the man that took pride in calling himself the Beast. Yahuwah loves righteousness, not the self-righteousness of men, but those that stand upright before him. Because of righteousness, Yah chose to save mankind through Noah and his sons. Because of righteousness, Abraham became the father of many nations. Because of Jacob's righteousness, his name was changed, and from him came the 12 sons and the tribes of Israel. And because of the 12 tribes of Israel's righteousness before Yah, he blessed them in the land that was promised to their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But because of Israel's wickedness, having a righteousness of their own, the Most High Yah stripped them of their glory and expelled them from the land. That is the price of wickedness, despair and tragedy, just as Aleister Crowley's end, who died penniless and alone. Theurgy is the practice of invoking or evoking the presence of one or more deities into human affairs. This was a teaching and practice of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Many famous celebrities during the Victorian era and to this day were a part of this order. Some of the influences on the Golden Dawn were derived from Hermetic teachings, Kabbalah, ancient Egyptian mysticism, Christian mysticism, and of course, Theosophy. The order was founded by 3 former Freemasons, one of which brought young Aleister Crowley into the fold.
Well, the brutal murder of Greek rapper Killa P, allegedly by a member of Golden Dawn, has once again focused the spotlight on the right-wing Greek Nationalist Party. Although the group denies any involvement, protesters have taken to the streets and attacked Golden Dawn offices. But amid repeated austerity cuts, high youth unemployment, and a lack of economic progress, many Greeks have looked to the group for change, even voting them into parliament. Within a year, their popularity rose from 7% to nearly 15%. This despite their extreme politics and reported violence against immigrants, Jews, and opposition politicians. But critics are now demanding the party be banned from government and labeled a criminal gang. So why is Golden Dawn becoming increasingly popular?
Aleister Crowley came from a wealthy family, and his inheritance allowed for him to travel the world. One of his stops led him to Egypt in 1904 on a honeymoon. During a seance in Egypt, he said a spirit, which he called his guardian angel, Eos, came to him and gave him his first word for the book of the law. Now the whole of the law has been around in Noah's day, Solomon's day, drink, eat, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, in our day, as YOLO, you only live once, or more recently, you do you. This way of thinking has been around since Satan thought to revolt against the Most High Yah and disrupt the order of the heavens. For this is what the demon told Crowley in Egypt. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
I don't usually see something that's an actual real thing that I could describe as, you know. Sometimes, one time I saw a lot of faces. Just all these faces appeared in front of me. And they were children's faces and oriental faces and old faces and just all kinds of different faces in front of me. And one time I looked in the mirror and I saw just my face just went through all these changes of different emotions and ages, and you know, I could feel all of the things that I saw.
Among these drugs, the hallucinogens, are included mescaline, a chemical taken from the peyote cactus, psilocybin, extracted from a variety of Mexican mushroom, DMT, synthesized from the compound tryptamine, and of course, LSD-25, a derivative of lysergic acid, and currently the best known of the hallucinogens. From the very beginnings of unrecorded time, men have reached for substances in the world around them that would alter, extend, and materially change their perception of reality. The reasons? Loneliness and fear, boredom, and a desire for the new and the unknown.
After receiving the word from Eowas during their trip to Cairo, Crowley noticed that his wife was acting weird and thought it to be a demonic spirit. His wife went on to tell him that he should perform an invocation to the Egyptian god Horus, and he did. Horus went on to tell Crowley that he was a chosen prophet to lead people into a new magical eon, the Eon of Horus. He was then told to write the Book of the Law. This book contains teachings from yoga, occultism, Kabbalah, and mysticism. This was the guidebook for entering the Eon of Horus and the new religion he called Thelema, which is Greek for will.
To master the ring, you must learn to focus your will and create what you see in your mind. The ring's limits are only what you can imagine.
Your parents' death was not your fault. It was your father's. Anger does not change the fact that your father failed to act.
The man had a gun.
Would that stop you?
I've had training.
The training is nothing. The will is everything. The will to act.
Congratulations, you're a prophet.
I'm a survivor.
Who wants to murder trillions.
With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
And then what?
I finally rest and watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
I think you'll find our will equal to yours.
Magic with a K, as coined and defined by Crowley, is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. The different forms were sex magic with men and women, invocation and evocation, Eucharistic ritual, consecration and purification, astral travel, yoga, and divination.
It's going to start making circles. Just mentally have the idea. It's going to start making circles. There you are, see? Circles. Now bigger and bigger circles. There you are.
Oh, my heavens.
Okay?
I didn't think I could do it. I was
See?
feeling a lot of pressure here.
Okay. Well, listen.
I
Now,
can't believe it's doing it.
yeah. And now have the idea that it's going to reverse the circle. So if it's making
Oh,
circles...
no, I don't know if I can do that.
Just have the idea.
Okay.
Just have the idea.
That it's going to reverse the circle.
Yes. Just keep that idea in your mind. You see, your expectancy determines outcome. And as long as you're not attached to the outcome will be guaranteed.
Okay.
Whenever we fulfill a desire, whatever that desire is, certain things happen. Number one, we expect a certain outcome.
Oh, it just switched.
There you are.
It
See?
just did it.
See?
I can't,
And this is living proof that every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your internal dialogue. And by changing your internal dialogue, you can influence the chemistry The
Even
fundamentals
Sally's impressed. Even
chemistry.
Sally's
Every
saying,
cell.
I didn't think you could do it, but you did. Every cell?
Every cell. How would this happen
Now,
otherwise?
see, now this is amazing, because if you can do this with a string,
Right.
it means you can do it with your life.
Yeah, you can do it with anything. You can fulfill any desire in life that you want, because inherent in having the desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. I don't have the same desires as you, because nature gave me those desires that nature means to fulfill through me.
Okay.
The teachings of Aleister Crowley in the Book of the Law through the practice of Thelema was intentional to contrast the word of Yahuwah. For instance, Aleister Crowley says, "Thou hast no right but to do thy will, for pure will, unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result, is every way perfect." And in scripture, it says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loves another has fulfilled the law." Romans 13:8. Another quote by Aleister Crowley is, "Let my servants be few and secret. They shall rule the many and the known." Then in scripture, it says, "For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil." Ecclesiastes 12:14. Aleister Crowley then says, "One would go mad if he took the Bible seriously, but to take it seriously, one must already be mad." And then in scripture, it says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who turn darkness to light and light to darkness, who replace bitter with sweet and sweet with bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight." Isaiah 5:20.
A lot of the things that he discusses resonates with me. Well, I would just want to leave you with this. My album is called Do What Thou Wilt, and it's based off, it's influenced by Crowley's The Book of the Law. Love, Thelema. Yeah. Love is the law. Love is the only law. Love under will. The law is for all. And, if you read the Christian Bible, that's the only commandment that Jesus left. Thinking along those lines, you know what I'm saying? And even do what thou wilt itself, free will is what it kind of sounds like, right? So, all of these, just me, into theology and into history and these things, putting these parallels together, these different ideas, it's just great stuff.
With the Order of Golden Dawn and other occults accepting Aleister Crowley as the prophet to take humanity into the Aeon of Horus, Aleister Crowley went on to create his own order in 1907, known as Astrum Argentinum, or Shining Star. The Astrum Argentinum is the supreme and eternal inner school of initiates who have in all times overseen the evolution of consciousness on this planet. This order has assumed various forms and names throughout history. In all cases, however, its chief work is the preparation of the individual for initiation. It is from the Astrum Argentinum that the Book of the Law was issued to humankind to announce the advent of the Aeon of Horus. The current outer form of the order was created by Frate P. Aleister Crowley and Frate DDS, his co-founder. Under the guidance and instruction of the Astrum Argentinum, this path of high magic with a K is not for most. The Astrum Argentinum is the parent of all other viable initiatory programs. all others are but preparation or specialized training for those who will eventually aspire to this one order of the shining star. Affiliation is for those, perhaps only for those, who dedicate themselves with reverence, duty, sympathy, devotion, assiduity, and trust to the performance of the great work now within this incarnation, and to dare with courage undaunted to perfect it. Love is the law, love under will.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, as dreamers do.
Aleister Crowley earned the title the wickedest man alive and thought it humorous. It's because he took pride in being the prophet to take humanity into the eon of Horus, which I'll cover later in part 2. No, I don't mean just transitioning the cult. When I say humanity, I mean the world. He's inspired musicians, educators, artists, writers, and the topic of discussion, filmmakers, to indoctrinate us, the people, and yes, including your children, with the doctrines of devils. And his teachings were so easy to accept, especially in the United States, because many people were already living by, and are still living by, the law of willpower, self-made, self-righteousness, pride. Even telling someone to pull themselves up by their bootstraps is the doctrine of Satan and of Crowley, and the list goes on. Take it personal if you will, but I know some will, because where there is a will, there is a way. I promise, I'm done with the puns for now.
Pride is an unwillingness to wait for God to act in his own time and in his own way. Pride takes matters in its own hands. The greatest temptation a Christian faces is to get ahead of God. Are you hearing it? The greatest temptation is not sexual, it's not anything out there. The greatest temptation to those who want to go all the way with God and walk in holiness is to get ahead of God when we believe he's acting too slowly. It's acting without a clear mandate from God. It's taking matters in our own hands. It's a spirit of impatience, and that impatience leads to independence. And then an anger rises against God, and we can't wait, so we run off trying to make something happen.
Thelema is the fulfillment of the New World religion and New Age, as in the days of Noah, it was not Catholicism nor Islam, but the will, as Aleister Crowley, to rebel against Yahweh, the Creator. For rebellion is as of the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because you have rejected the word of Yahuwah.
Listen to what Jesus said. Don't turn there, but it's Philippians 2:5. He says, let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. In other words, here's the mindset that you and I should have as Christians. He made himself of no reputation. Though, you know, he could have come and claiming all the rights of your Godhead because he was God in the flesh. All the rights of God's own Son. He could have come that way. And Brother Bob has a powerful message on that. He could have claimed those rights. But he made himself of no reputation and took upon him the form of a servant and was made in the likeness of man. And he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. A servant has no rights. Now, he may have them, but he doesn't choose. He doesn't choose to have any part in the rights alone, because his master's will is his will. And this strikes at the very heart of pride. I don't know if you're seeing it or not, but the proud person cannot accept this kind of mindset. He can't humble himself. He can't lay aside all of his rights. He can't come as did Christ, and he said, let this mind be in you. Because you see, the cross represents the death to my own will, to all my plans, to all my ambitions. Humility is really crucifixion of self. That is what humility is. It's the death to everything that's of my own plan, my own desires, my own will. Jesus said to his disciples, my will, or the fulfillment I get in life, is to do the will of him that sent me. He said, of my own self, I can do nothing.
Moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint and the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and of all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Impiety increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Amaziarch taught all the sorcerers and dividers of roots. Armors taught the solution of sorcery. Barakael taught the observers of the stars. Akibia taught signs. Tamil taught astronomy. And Asarradel taught the motion of the moon. And men being destroyed cried out, and their voice reached the heaven. Enoch chapter 8. The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which was done is that which shall be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Yeshua said the end will be as in the days of Noah, or as Aleister Crowley calls it, the Eon of Horus. And the passage from Enoch 8 was just a taste of the things the once messengers of Yahuwah taught and are teaching men, women, and your children, through witches and warlocks, and then they teach you to do the same through entertainment. Satan is not only real, but his spirit is real too, the spirit of rebellion against the Most High Yah. There is a reason why when the former angels were teaching men and women sciences and magic, humanity was being destroyed by their own devices, because for the imagination of man's heart is evil from their youth. Satan has one job: to steal, kill, and destroy, and those that rebel do the same. Now mix the spirit of rebellion with the sin nature of man. Nothing good comes of it. And what Yah intends for good, we use for evil. No man is good, but Yah in all his mercy, grace, and love is long-suffering, patient with us, even providing a means of escape for his purging of wickedness off the face of the earth to come. Just as the ship in the days of Noah, he sent Yeshua. Don't ever let Satan or any man or woman try to tell you to serve the Most High Yah is to be absent of thought or reason. For Yahuwah is wisdom and he is knowledge. He is the pure and undefiled science, and he is the master philosopher. He is the logic and substance of the wisdom of Solomon. He is the artist of the heavens, chief astrologer, and the beauty and gravity of the universe. Yahuwah is the divine wisdom that Madame Blavatsky failed to obtain, and Yahuwah is the knowledge and peace Crowley could never grasp. Yeshua said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of knowledge, and is the understanding that births in us wisdom unto righteousness and life. Solomon sought out wisdom in all the earth, and held his heart back from nothing. All the yet while Yah allowed him to keep his wisdom, and at the end of it all, this was his conclusion. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yah, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.